Now we would like to begin our session on how to join the UN as staff members. I would like to invite Ms. Joanne Empa from the Office of Human Resources of the UN Secretariat for a briefing. Ms. Empa, please, you have the floor.
I'm with the Talent Outreach team, and I'm so happy to be here. I have actually worked with the UN for over 25 years, and in my capacity, I've worked in administration, benefits, and entitlements. For many years, I worked as a recruiter for the UN before joining the Talent Outreach team. So I'm happy to be here, and we will be going over different aspects of the UN career process. So thank you so much for your interest in UN careers, and let's begin. Okay. So our presentation today will have two parts. First, we will give you an overview of the UN global system, because I believe to find a job at the UN, you have to expand your reach. And so being that the UN is a network of many interconnected agencies, funds, and programs, it's important to have an idea, a general idea of how big the UN is and how vast your search should be. And then the second part, I will walk you through the UN job application process, how you search for job opening, how you can create your personal history profile, which is our version of the resume, submission of applications, how we evaluate the application, the technical aspects of it, and then I'm also going to give you tips on our competency-based interview process. And so as I had said, the UN is a vast network. So I'm coming from the Secretariat. So this map you see here is just a caption of the Secretariat alone. As you can see, it's very global. We're in North and South America, Africa, Asia, everywhere. So this gives you an idea of how big the UN is. And together with the regional commissions, it's very big. And this here, the map you see here is so big you can't even read it well, but this is online, you can access this, is the United Nations system. As you can see, it's an interconnected network, and I'm with the Secretariat, so the blue captions are all the different departments that you could possibly work at. We have the regional commissions, which are part of the Secretariat. We have the agencies, funds, and programs, and many other subsidiary organs. So you need to broaden your search in your job search for the UN. So what does the UN do? We engage, as many of you know, in development, peace and security, humanitarian activities, and also human rights. And this is an overview just for the Secretariat alone, just to give you an idea of how much we hire, how big the workforce is. The UN, of course, Secretariat, the UN, 193 member states. Overall, we have at least 40,000 plus staff members, field, non-field, and the gender, we're working towards gender parity. So right now we're at 40% female and 60% male. And again, as I mentioned, the types of work is peacekeeping, humanitarian and human rights, and economic and social development. So what are the key priority areas that we focus on? This is just to give you an overview. The Sustainable Development Goals that the UN engaged in 2015 that we hope to achieve by the year 2030. So these are 17 goals on our agenda to achieve in the world, because we believe that the work of the UN is not just to go in when there's a war, but actually to mitigate so many social issues and so many social injustices in a way that when we improve everybody's quality of life, it will prevent wars and civil unrest. In other words, establish peace so the society will thrive. So I'm going to go over the 17 Sustainable Development Goals. One is poverty. The next is we aim for zero hunger for everybody on this planet. Good health and well-being. Quality education for everyone. That's a human right. Gender equality is very important to us. Clean water and sanitation. Affordable and clean energy. It's important. Decent work and economic growth for every country. Industry, innovation, and infrastructure. Reduce inequalities on all levels. We aim for that. Sustainable cities and communities. Responsible consumption and production. Climate action, as you know, is very big on UN's agenda. Life below water. life on land, and peace and justice, and strong institutions, we believe all help to promote the well-being of everyone. And so we have a partnership with all the different agencies, governments, civil society, to work towards achieving these goals. And with that, we need every type of workforce on board. So these are the Sustainable Development Goals that we hope to achieve by 2030, sorry. And top on our agenda this year is no poverty, gender equality, climate action, reduce inequality, and climate action. So examples of offices that are in collaboration with us to achieve these initiatives. This is just example, just to give you an idea. This is just a sneak peek. So we have the UN Secretariat where I'm from. You have UNFPA, UN Population Fund, UNICEF, you heard about, UNDP, World Food Program, UN Habitat, Food and Agricultural Organization, UN Women, which is big on gender, and we're aiming for gender equality around the world. So as you can see, this is just a small peek at how many organizations and agencies that are working to achieve the UN's agenda, Sustainable Development Goals. So with that, after telling you all that the UN is interested in achieving, these are the job networks. Because, in order to achieve all of this, we need experts in every field. So the UN has different networks of job that is divided in. So we have the DevNet, which is the Economic, Social, and Development Network. Then we have the InfoNet, which is those with expertise in public information and conference management. iTechNet, those of you who are in information and telecommunication technology network. LegalNet, which are lawyers and human rights experts. LogNet, logistics, transportation, supply chain, procurement. Magnet, which is those of you who are management and administration, finance, statistics, etc. PolNet, political science, peace, and humanitarian network. And of course, we need security. So internal security and safety network, which is those from a security background. So we need all these expertise in achieving our goals. So this is, again, it's a list of the areas we recruit from. This is just a sample, not all of it. We couldn't possibly fit all of it on the screen, but this is just to give you an idea of how vast we recruit. We have auditors, administrators, aviation, we hire pilots, statisticians, engineering, the list goes on, human rights, lawyers, you name it. Medical, we even hire doctors, nurses, the list goes on. So working with the UN is an inclusive environment. Everybody is welcome. We work towards achieving equality and protection of all areas. So we respect diversity, we promote that, we stress that. It's a multicultural and multilingual environment. And it's a global collaboration, teamwork among everyone to achieve our goals. So regardless of your gender, your race, ethnicity, your socioeconomic status, your religion, or even your sexual orientation, you're welcome in joining the UN. And big on our agenda is gender, working towards achieving gender parity within all the UN systems. And disability. For anyone with any type of disability, the UN works to make sure that we provide reasonable accommodation to make sure that your work environment is conducive for you to be able to be productive and being a productive member of the UN staff population. And what are the benefits and entitlements? The UN salaries are competitive, but they may not always be competitive with certain organizations and companies. However, we pride ourselves in the benefits we give on the international level for international staff. Education grants is one, dependence allowance, rental subsidy. Our pension benefits is very good. You will get a nice cushion to retire with. Health insurance is very robust. We try to mimic the European standard. And also we have very generous annual leave, which is typically 6 weeks in any given year that you get with full pay as a UN staff member. A maternity leave is also good as 4 months, and we also have paternity leave, which I believe is about a month. And working in the UN, there's also this benefit that It's not monetary, but it's more of the internal satisfaction of having made a difference in the world. So we put here the Japanese Ikigai model, where when you do something that you're passionate about, something that makes a difference in other people's lives, helping others, and at the same time make money for it, there's this reward that you get that you cannot possibly put a dollar sign on. So working in the UN, if you're somebody who is that type of person, if you think back at the Sustainable Development Goals, the agenda for the UN that I listed a few moments ago, if you're somebody that are passionate about any of those initiatives, then working in the UN will give you that personal satisfaction, even more than any dollar sign can give you. So keep that in mind when you apply for jobs at the UN. And there's this myth. I'm going to debunk one myth that says that the UN is mostly, and it's not true, mostly an environment where it's mostly older people living in, working in stuffy offices, where it's so bureaucratic, it's hard to get anything done. It's not true. The current UN is very, very progressive and more focused on the young people. As Secretary General right now welcomes young ideas, fresh ideas to push the world forward. We believe the future of the UN belongs to the young people like yourselves. So we welcome the youth. So with that in mind, there's this association called Young UN. This is a network of decentralized global network of young UN professionals who have come together to pilot practical changes. They bring fresh ideas to key decision makers and try to push towards moving the UN forward into the next century. So it's about, at the moment, about 1,700 members in over 100 countries, all contract types. Even though we call it Young UN, there's no age limit. So anybody that is passionate about bringing modernity to the UN, bringing fresh ideas to key decision makers and helping move the UN forward is welcome to join. And what are the staff categories at the UN? This area actually, it touches on one of the questions that came in advance. So by me explaining this area, I'm technically answering one of the questions on the list. So the different categories in the UN is the field service, which is the international recruiter, and you also have the general service category. These areas, for all of you, I'm assuming have college diplomas, you're more qualified than this area. But if you're looking to just work on temporary assignments or to get a feel for what the UN is about, there's a lot of temporary jobs that come on in the field service and also in the general service, where you can just come in, even though you haven't graduated yet, just to get a feel for what the UN is about. So for these areas, they usually engage in administrative and technical operational work, logistics, and also any type of work that is assisting different departments. They come in and work on projects. Let's say somebody went on maternity leave or went on assignment, they can come in to work on projects. There are jobs in this area that are also permanent. But if you want to come in on a temporary, this is a great way. We also have the professional level, which the YPP also comes under. This is really for those with the college degrees. These are internationally recruited. First level degree is the minimum requirement. If you have a master's, then you don't need 2 additional years. In other words, let me give you, for example, let's say you applied for a P3 position. The minimum years of requirement is experience, is 5 years. If you have a master's degree, again, this is an answer to one of the questions. But if you don't have a master's, you only have a bachelor's, you're still qualified if you have 2 additional years. So that would be 7 years in total in order to qualify. So professionals are experts in their field. They engage in analytical work. They need to have good communication, leadership, and managerial skills, and also engage in decision-making processes. NPOs are national professional officers, the same as professionals, but they are recruited locally in their countries. So for more information on these different categories of UN jobs, you can visit careers.un.org. And so now I'm going to walk you through the different entry points. What are the avenues where young professionals like yourself can join the UN? First, we have regular job openings that are advertised on all levels in the categories I mentioned. We also have temporary job openings that, again, are advertised on all levels. It's a great way to come in and work on short assignments, or sometimes it's extended. At least you get a feel for what the UN is about, and hopefully stay or at least move on with a great experience. We also have internships, which are great for young professionals that are just about to graduate college in their final year or have recently graduated. So I'll talk more about internships in a little bit. For internships, it gives you a chance to gain exposure, work with career professionals, participate in projects and events, perform analytical work, and it gives you a chance to showcase your skills. It gives you a chance to network, chance to learn new skills, and enhance your resume to show that yes, I've worked in an international organization such as the UN. We also have the Young Professionals Program. And I have an announcement today. Today's your lucky day. We launched the YPP application process today. So the application is open now on our careers website. Yeah, you can apply as of today through October for the YPP. And so I'm going to explain further with the YPP in the upcoming slides. We also have the Junior Professional Officers, the JPOs, which are sponsored. They're on the same level, P2, as the YPP. They are sponsored by their individual countries to come in and gain professional experience and hopefully return to work for their government, or some of them also end up staying and pursuing a career with the UN. Another area you can join is consultants and individual contractors. These are professionals that are experts in their field. They come in and work on projects, conferences, events, training, usually for up to 24 months. It's a great way to come in, again, network and build professional experience with the UN. We also have the language competitive examinations. As you know, the UN has 6 official languages, and so we hire language professionals to work in conferences as translators, interpreters, verbatim reporters, etc. And so these exams are given annually, and for those who pass, they place on a roster, and the recruitment is done from those rosters. Another area is UN volunteers, and I'll talk a little bit more about UN volunteers in the next slides. So with internships, let's dig deeper. What are the eligibilities to work as a UN intern? You must be enrolled in a graduate school program or higher, or in the final year of a bachelor's program, or within 1 year after graduation. Internships are full-time. Fluency in English or French is required. The duration is 2 to 6 months. And internships, unfortunately, is unpaid, but I believe you gain a wealth of experience that will help you, that will propel you to your next career. So in a way, there's a value you get out of having been an intern at the UN. And all the UN agencies, all the UN offices and departments have internships available. So broaden your search. The only negative is you cannot be the child or sibling of a UN staff member in that department you're applying. So now let's talk about the Young Professionals Program, the YPP. As you all know, within the UN staff population, every year we look at the statistic to see what countries are underrepresented or unrepresented at all, or perhaps are at risk of becoming un or underrepresented. And so for this group, we give them a chance to participate in a competitive examination to become young professionals at the UN. So to be eligible, a candidate must hold the nationality of a participating member state at the time of application. The minimum educational requirement is a bachelor's or equivalent in the specific exam area that you're applying for. You must be 32 years or younger by the end of the year of the exam. So for the 2020 exam, your date of birth has to be on or after January 1st, 1988. Fluency in English or French. This is in the area of reading, writing, speaking, and understanding. So I'm going to explain this area a bit in further down in the application process, because when you submit your application, you have to make sure you're clear in these areas to prevent being automatically rejected by the system before your application gets reviewed. And for the YPP, you're coming in as an entry-level professional, P2, as in a professional level 2. So no experience is required. However, you have to include whatever experiences you have in your application. Why? because for every country, there's a maximum as to how many are allowed, are accepted to take the exam, eligible candidates. So I believe the number is about 60. So if there's more than that, we will look at experience in order to reduce the amount. So it's good to put in your education and your experience anywhere in the application. So for more information, as I said, we just launched it today. So visit careers.un.org/YPP for more information about it. So for this year's 2020 examination, the exam areas are, and these areas are selected based on the needs of the organization. So for 2020, we believe we've done the study and noticed that in management and administration is one area that we need candidates, global communications, political affairs, and human rights. So the exams will be posted in specific job titles such as administrative officer or political affairs officer, human rights officer, etc., public information. So the 2020 application period, as I said, it just started today, and it will be open for 45 days. I believe we're extending it through October, but at least it starts today, but through most of October. Application period, like I said, is September through October, and there will be an applicant chat box this year in Inspira, which is our careers website. In case you're filling out your application and you have any questions, you can communicate with one of our representatives who can assist you. But through this process, I will also explain how the UN application process works. So what does the YPP exam structure consist of? This is an online examination that consists of two parts. So we have the general and a specialized paper. So this first part typically consists of a multiple choice questions, and it lasts approximately up to 2 hours. And the questions are available in either English or French. So those successful in the first stage will be invited to the second stage. So this general paper will assess a variety of competencies or abilities critical to the work in an international organization. And a specialized paper will assess your knowledge and attributes relevant to the specific area. In other words, let's say you applied to take it in political affairs. It's going to test your knowledge in how you can solve problems in political affairs in a work setting. So on the stage 2, once you finish with the specialized paper is the stage 2 part. So these are open-ended questions that you would have to write essays on, as I had mentioned. And it will check your analytical skills, how you're able to solve real-life work scenarios in your field of study. And this can be viewed in either English or French. Certain questions must be answered in English or French, and certain questions can be answered in any of the 6 official languages. So once you apply and you are selected, convoked to take the exam, the YPP team will give you more information. They'll give you tips, they'll give you sample exam questions, things like that. So they'll guide you in the process. The stage of this exam is proctored via webcam and other monitoring software. Let me give you a little tip. The UN does not charge at any stage for the YPP exam. We've had some organizations that are going around taking our materials and giving it and selling it for money as YPP exam material. Please do not purchase those. Be aware that the UN does not charge any money. All our exam materials, our study guide and everything, once you're convoked, is given to you free of charge. So keep that in mind. So this is the process, step by step. We have the application process. First, you learn about the YPP, which you're doing now. You apply through Inspira, which is the careers.un.org, and then the application is screened. So then you prepare for the exam, take the exam online, and once you pass the first 2 parts that I spoke about, then you will be convoked to come in and participate in an interview. And all UN interviews are competency-based, and so I'll explain that in a little bit, give you some tips. All successful applicants after the interview are placed on a roster, which is valid for 3 years. And during the 3 years, you will be contacted by different departments throughout the UN Secretariat network around the world to give you offers to see if you're interested in joining the UN at that time. So good luck to everyone. So then we're going to move on to the UN Standard Volunteers, which is also a way to come into the UN. There are 3 types of volunteers, UN volunteer, a way to volunteer in the UN. The first one is the standard volunteers. You must be a minimum of 25 years of age or older, must have a university degree or any higher technical diploma, and several years of relevant work experience, which will be determined by the hiring manager. Fluency in English or the working knowledge of another UN language is desirable. Ability, you must have the ability to work in a multicultural environment because, as you know, the UN is engaged in activities all around the world. So you must have that ability to do that. So in order to be eligible for to become a UN volunteer, you have to register at the UNV Global Talent Pool to make yourself available at that site so that hiring managers will know that you're ready and available to work as a volunteer, and you will be contacted in that regard. Volunteers are given a paid allowance for food and I guess daily substance, some type of allowance to live on. It's not a salary, but it's a small stipend to survive on. So for more information, visit unv.org/how-to-volunteer. The next type of volunteer is the UN Youth Volunteers. As you know, the SG is involved in engaging the youth in helping promote and work on a sustainable development goal. So the youth is encouraged to really come in as volunteers and work in the UN. These are sponsored by UN agencies, governments, and academic institutions. You must be between the age of 18 and 29 years of age, and the duration is 6 to 24 months. So they work on issues of political development and humanitarian operations. So again, register online at unv.org/how-to-volunteer. Another type of volunteer, which we even had before the COVID pandemic started, is online volunteers. So online partner registration by UN entities. So you register, there's the government, public institution, and civil society organizations. They all have volunteer work online where they've partnered to make sure that there's any projects, any work that they need experts to work on, you can help via the online method. So the organizations, they seek skilled volunteers to team up and address, as I had mentioned, our sustainable development goals. So again, apply online, unv.org/how-to-volunteer. Another way to work in the UN as a young person or even an older person is a consultant. It's a great way to showcase your expertise in a special area. That is to become a consultant for the UN. All the UN agencies, funds, and programs, including the Secretariat, we hire consultants. It's results-oriented specialists in a specific field. It's advisory or consultative in capacity. So they work on analyzing problems, direct seminars or training courses, etc. Many other areas, not limited to this. Prepare documents for conferences, meetings, write reports on matters within area of expertise. Do research work. I know somebody asked me a question on if the UN hires researchers. A lot of consultants come in and do research work. So that's a great area. The duration is 24 months and in a 36-month period. And then we also have individual contractors. These are, again, similar to consultants. And let me back up. Consultants are paid based on the contract they get, but they are paid. This is paid. It's not a UN salary, but they're paid based on their qualifications. So individual contractors are similar. They provide expertise, skills, or knowledge for the performance of a specific task. These are also short-term, full-time, or part-time. Duration is 6 months in a 12-month period and 9 months in special circumstances. So for all of this, we have information at our careers website, careers.un.org. So UN Careers, where to begin? This is a screenshot of our careers page. So make sure you visit it because this is where you'll be creating your profile to apply for any job within the UN, including to apply for the YPP exam. So you search for a position and then also go ahead and apply. You can also even go ahead and set automatic email job alerts for the specific job that you're looking for, and you will get automatic alerts when these jobs are advertised. So this is again the same screen. I'm just showing you where you go, where you input information. So I've highlighted a few areas. For example, we're searching for a P3 level job. For the category, you will select professional and higher positions. So for the level, for this one, you select P3. But for the YPP, for this area, you will select P2. P2. So for the YPP with professional and high category, select P2 as in Peter 2, P2. And then they posted within the last 30 days. Depending on what job you're looking for, if you know the duty station, you select it. Otherwise, you leave all, and then it will pull up all the jobs in the UN that are advertised at that time. So for internships, it's the same thing. You just select internship as category and then search. So these are some examples of jobs that I searched myself. This is just a few. We have many, many, many more on our website. These are jobs that are currently on the site advertised. We have a finance and budget officer in Santiago, Chile, which is the UN office, ECLAC. We have public information officer in Geneva. We have economic affairs officer, P3. All these are P3 level jobs. This is a mid-career jobs that are your minimum requirement. With a master's would be 5 years, and with a bachelor's, you would need 7 years. We also have a program officer in Santiago. And then I also pulled, there's a lot of internships all over the world, but these are 4 that I pulled up just to show you. We have legal affairs internship in New York, which is open right now, currently looking for an intern in legal affairs. We also have an opening for information systems and communication technology in Incheon City, Korea. Public information internship in Incheon City. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly, Korea. And also an internship opportunity in administration, which is open currently in New York City, here in New York. So let me go ahead and show you how to create your profile, because this is how you begin to search for a job. The UN currently does not accept resumes per se. You have to create your online profile, which is called the Personal History Profile, PHP, which consists of these parts. You have the cover letter, personal information, education, employment history, which is your experience, languages, and of course, your references. So all these, it will take you about 1.5 to 2 hours to create your profile online at our careers website. So in order to make sure that your application does well in terms of when you submit, you apply for jobs, make sure these are some tips. Make sure you distinguish yourself from other applicants. Be thorough and detailed, right? Highlight experiences that fit the job requirement. Before you even start creating your application, make sure that you've read the job opening very well and you understand what is required. And so when you're preparing your profile, make sure that any elements that you have, any qualities, any experiences that you have that is required in that job opening, make sure you're highlighting these, right? To meet that, so you have a higher chance of being called, shortlisted at least, and perhaps called for an interview. So highlight your experiences that fit the requirements of the job opening requirements. Highlight any key achievements that relate to the job opening. This is good because then it shows what you've done, what your accomplishments have been. And even if it doesn't relate, also include that. But it's good that any ones that relate, you make sure those are put in, and then any additional, you include that, because you want to show a well-rounded experience. And also make sure you check for spelling and grammatical errors, because that's important. It shows how thorough you are and how it gives a good impression when everything is in correct order. And so let me give you some tips. There's a relationship between 3 items that if you don't put the right information, you get automatically screened out, because the initial assessment process is done by the system. So if you don't input your information correctly, what will happen is you'll be automatically screened out and your application will never even make it to the hiring manager. Because a lot of people ask this question: how come I keep applying for jobs and I never get called? Maybe you have some errors in your application. So let me give you some tips. These are the areas of education, work experience, and languages. You have to look carefully at the job opening requirements and the education, work experience, and languages. And if you have these elements, make sure it's reflected accurately in your application. Otherwise, the system will screen you out. For example, let's say the application is asking for a bachelor's degree minimum requirement. And you select, let's say, for example, St. John's University, but then you've bachelor's degree achieved there. However, there's a checkbox that asks you if a degree was obtained. You have to make sure you check that area, check that box that yes, degree was obtained. If you omit to do that, even though you've listed in your application that you have a degree, the system will automatically screen you out. We're working to improve the website to make it more user-friendly, but for now, this is how it's designed. And so be very careful to make sure that your information is accurately done and any checkboxes have been checked. The same thing goes for work experience. If it's asking for a minimum 5 years experience and you put in your work experiences, you count the periods and you put it there in the system because there's sections that you will put when you started, when you finished for each job experience you put. Make sure you've counted to make sure that it meets that 5 years if you have it. Because even if you're off by a week, a month, whatever it is, as long as it doesn't meet the 5 years, the system will automatically screen you out. And also, same thing applies for languages. If it asks for, let's say, fluency in English, I will explain the languages in more detail with a visual. Again, you have to show fluency, otherwise you'll be automatically screened out in those languages. And other areas, the core competencies, but this is at the interview stage, and I'll explain that in a bit. So when you go in to put in your experiences, make sure, in order to make sure that your application stands out, because each hiring manager will get hundreds of applications, you want yours to stand out to the point where you are shortlisted. So again, look at the requirements under the experience, right? And then look at your own background, what experiences you've had, and ask yourself this question: what did you do in that job? And then ask yourself, in order to put your achievements, how well did you do in that job, right? And use that information to write what your achievements were. So you list your duties and you describe what achievements you did in that area. So you also describe your responsibilities with careful attention to the requirements of the job opening, because you're speaking to that job opening. And then make sure you provide specific examples in the area of achievement when you made remarkable contributions in the performance of your duties. And it's good when you put in achievements to sometimes, quantify, put statistics. You worked on so and so project. Let's say you worked on 5 projects that resulted in cost savings of about 50,000, or you worked on 50 recruitment initiatives that result, put some numbers to show that, wow, she didn't just do this, but this is how much they did. So I'm sure you know what I mean. Enhance it and be more specific in that regard. That way, and make sure this is relating to what the requirements of the job opening is. This gives the hiring manager, it makes it easy for them to say, okay, this person has done what the requirements are and the experience. So now I'm back to languages. And the languages, and this is going to happen even for the YPP when you're filling out your application, it's the same for all UN job applications. The job opening will ask you fluency in a certain language, typically maybe English or French or whatever the requirement is. And so we ask you to specify if it says fluency is required in that language. That means we need you to be fluent in reading, listening, speaking, and writing. So if you know you're fluent in all these areas, make sure you check fluent in all these 4 areas. If you miss it by even one, you will be screened out, because you have the option to put basic or confident. And some people think, oh, okay, if I put fluent in underwriting and I put confident in one area, confident is good enough. If the requirement of the job opening says fluency, make sure that you select fluency in all areas of reading, listening, speaking, and writing, if you are fluent. Otherwise, unfortunately, the application will be automatically rejected and it will not make it to the hiring manager. So keep that in mind. And again, we're going to go on to the UN competency-based interview. These are some tips. So before you go for an interview, hopefully you've made it shortlisted, and now you're being invited for an interview. Make sure you learn about the department and how it works, the kind of work it does. Usually on the job opening, on the top part, it will say org setting and reporting, which is the organizational setting and reporting. You will get about a paragraph, a big paragraph of, a background of the organization. And also sometimes you can even go on online and search for that department. You get information on that. And then review the competencies advertised in the job opening and prepare actual life experience examples. In the questions that was asked to me, one of them was, what are the qualities that the UN looks for in order when they hire? So the main thing, in addition to the experience, education, and languages that I talked about, the real qualities that we look for are competencies, because we believe that qualities like somebody who is professional, who has professionalism, or somebody who is good at teamwork, or somebody who is good at planning and organizing. If you have these qualities in your past work life, chances are when you come in, you would also exhibit these qualities. And so it's very important to read under the competencies of the job opening and also look at the indicators, performance indicators of those competencies. These are all listed in the job opening. And make sure you prepare examples that fit that. And I'll explain a little bit what I mean in a few minutes. And match your achievements to those competencies. All UN job openings, all UN interviews, are competency-based. So when you prepare for UN interviews, make sure you're familiar with competency-based interview skills. Your example should reflect how you were able to handle the situation, including any lessons learned if you were not able to. So these are some tips, and I'll go further. So these are the UN competencies that are advertised. Typically for general service all the way up to mid-professional level, there are 3 competencies that are advertised with each job opening. Professionalism is always there. And then typically you would have perhaps teamwork, planning and organizing, depending on what the requirements of the job opening are. Sometimes you have communication, client service orientation, or perhaps technological awareness. If it's a managerial job opening, you also have 2 managerial competencies listed with that job opening, which sometimes will be leadership. We look for leadership skills, or managing performance, for example, judgment and decision making, etc. So let me give you an example of what I'm trying to say. So let's say you apply for a job opening, and listed under competencies in that job opening is planning and organizing, right? So then there's a chance you will have a question on your interview, a planning and organization question, because the questions for that interview will be based on the competencies that are listed in that job opening. Nothing else. It will be those competencies that are listed. So you look at those competencies and prepare for that. So this is an example of a planning and organizing question. Give me an example of a time when you were faced with multiple tasks, including deadlines. Another question could be in the negative. It could be, describe a time when you failed to meet a deadline. So again, I'm answering that question. Somebody asked me, what are the qualities we're looking for? When we ask you this question, we're looking for somebody who can manage themselves in a work setting if they're faced with something like this, if in terms of, for example, planning and organizing competency. So in the job opening, we list the performance indicators. So for planning and organizing, the performance indicators we're looking for in your answers would be someone who identifies priority activities and assignments and adjusts priorities as required. We're looking for someone who monitors and adjusts plans and actions as necessary, and someone who uses time efficiently. So you have planning and organizing as one of the competencies in your job opening. These are the indicators, again, which I said will be listed in the job opening that we're looking for. So when you go to prepare your answers, which you should prepare before you come in for your interview, make sure that your answers are capturing these performance indicators. Don't just list the theory like, oh, I will identify my priorities, oh, I'll use my time efficiently. No. How did you use your time efficiently? Give actual examples of how you did that. Or if you're identifying priority activities and you're someone who adjusts your priorities as required, give actual examples to show how you did it. This is how you score points at a UN competency-based interview. So your answer should follow this fashion. First, you describe what challenge it was, and then what action you, the candidate, took. This is in your past work experience. And what was the result? And if it was a negative question where it was a case where you failed to meet a deadline, what was the result? So you want to show that you're somebody who worked hard, did all you can to try to prevent yourself from missing the deadline. If beyond your control you miss the deadline, the UN, when they interview you, would like to look at what lessons did you learn when that happened? What what best practices did you learn? What did you learn from it, and what did you put in place to make sure that even though you missed the deadline, that in the future it doesn't happen again? So these are some of the tips. These are some of the qualities we look for in a person, the behaviors we look for when you give examples of your past work experiences during our interview process. So we have some tips on our careers portal, some tutorials. We have some on creating your job application, creating your profile, which I spoke about, and it's a tutorial on our careers website, which you can go and take your time and listen to that. And also, we also have one on the UN competency-based interviewing for applicants. So when you have a chance on your own time, go and walk yourself through that tutorial to prepare yourself for your job application process at the UN. So these are some very helpful tips, I hope. And thank you so much for your time. I am gonna now go over, the questions that came in. Throughout my presentation, I try to capture some of the answers because they were already embedded in my presentation. But I'm gonna go over the questions. I've written the answers here, but we're just gonna go over it. So number one of the questions that came to me in advance. And then when we're done with this, I guess other questions can be asked and I'll be happy to respond. Number one is, what are the main categories of UN recruitment and their pros and cons? This one, I did talk about it, the different categories of the UN jobs: professional level, national officers, field service, general service, consultants, contractors, UN volunteers, internships. It's endless. And all the UN offices, agencies, departments, they all hire in these areas. And each way is a great way to gain experience and work at the UN. And depending on your experience and qualifications, you can get any of these jobs. Some assignments are short-term, some are career, like the YPP, for example. If you pass and you are selected, you start in your career. Or if you're recruited on the P3 level and it's a regular budget position, you're of course starting a career at the UN. Internships are unfortunately unpaid, so maybe that's a con, but at the end of the day, you gain a wealth of experience. So you will see the pros and cons depending on what your specific needs are, okay? Let's say you're looking for a regular job, then of course internships would not be the greatest, even though you're gaining experience, because of course it's not paid. Or you're someone who does not want to work in this field, so then you wouldn't be happy working in the field. You would rather be in a headquarters duty station, things like that. And let's say you have a college diploma, but you only got a job on the general service level. Of course, that would be a con because you're looking for a professional level job based on your qualification. And again, consultants are great, you gain experience, but at the end of the day, it has a duration. So after the duration of your consultancy, the job will end. So it all depends on what your needs are, and that will determine what the pro or the con is. Everybody has different interests. So the next question would be, what do you think is the appealing qualities as an applicant? And what do people expect from their colleagues? So this again is a competency base I spoke about. The qualities we look for as somebody who has the competencies that we list. So if you look at a job opening and you go to the competency section, it would have professionalism. It would have, let's say, client service, somebody who has client service orientation, somebody who has teamwork. So you can Google what competency-based and the professional, what it is. What are the, again, even in the job opening, it would have the performance indicators of these competencies. So when you look at that, that tells you these are the qualities we're looking for. And the colleagues will expect someone who is good in all these areas, including the managers. Everyone is looking for these qualities, especially someone who has good professionalism in terms of having someone who works well under pressure, is knowledgeable and expert in their field, and someone who's good in working in a team, right? So we look at all of these. And then the next question is master's degree virtually required for JPO, YPP, and UN-related jobs? For the UN-related jobs, the minimum requirement is a bachelor's. Master's is required. It depends on the level of experience. So for example, I think I gave this in the presentation. Let's say you've applied for a P3 level position. The minimum experience requirement, if you have a master's, is 5 years. But somebody with a bachelor's in that field they're looking for can also apply, but they need 2 additional years. So for that person, instead of having 5 years, we would need 7 years of experience in order to qualify for that P3 level position. But a P2 level position, the YPP, we only need the minimum bachelor's in order to qualify to take the exam. So you need a bachelor's in a specific subject area you have applied to take the exam in order to qualify to do the YPP. The next question is opportunity for recent PhD graduate. PhD graduates are excellent and available. There are so many jobs on the professional level. However, that PhD is not necessarily a requirement for that job open, although it's an added plus, depending on what the department is looking for, right? So the minimum, as I had mentioned, for any job open on the professional level is bachelor's. And of course, if you have a master's or higher, the level of experience will be less. You understand? So that's the difference. So for PhDs, a lot of departments, so what I've just explained is for the UN Secretariat. So check for vacancies with the other UN agencies, funds and programs for that opportunity as well. There are many opportunities in that area. How many employees in the UN Secretariat have a PhD degree? That one will be countless. So many people have PhDs that are working on many projects, many work capacities in the UN. I do not have a figure. Are there jobs for researchers? Yes, of course. In many capacities in the UN agencies, funds, and programs, they work as volunteers, consultancy, interns, and regular job openings also. If requirements of a job is a master's degree, how would an applicant's PhD degree be taken in the recruitment process? I think this was a question I was answering before. It will be based on your experience. So again, only minimum bachelor's is required, but then you need additional years. If you have a master's, less experience is required. If you have a PhD, it's a plus. Depending on what experience you've had with your PhD, it will help you stand out in terms of you being the selected candidate. But even though it's not a requirement, it will help you be the selected candidate based on the quality of experience you've had in that field. So the other agencies, funds and programs might have a different requirement. So check with them to see. They all have their own websites. So this question is, could you provide some advice on experiences or activities that can help to being employed by the UN, especially during the COVID-19 epidemic? Right now, we are still not fully back on campus yet. So a lot of us are working remotely, but hopefully going back soon as the pandemic situation is improving. Hopefully things will get better. And so you can right now, a lot can be done online. We actually have had some interns coming online. UN volunteers, as I mentioned, have online opportunities also. So a lot can be done online right now to gain experience. So apply also for the YPP exam, which I said open today. These are all areas that you can start preparing to start a career at the UN. Education-related career at UN or UNICEF. Yeah, so search at both career websites periodically. UNICEF and all the other UN agencies will likely have these areas of education as they're more focused in education careers and things like that. But like I said, being that the UN is so vast, expand your search, and definitely, no matter what field you're in, you will find opportunities coming up. Don't limit yourself to just one agency or UN organ. I am interested in options. This is the next question. I have UN heavy technical background. Okay, so we advertise IT jobs periodically. There's so many IT jobs. As you know, in this modern age, you can't do anything without IT. So we advertise a lot in IT. So again, go to the careers website and create your profile and search for relevant jobs, as I taught you and that the specific IT field you're looking for, information technology, communication technology. You can also set job alerts where you select what field you want and put your email. So whenever any job in the field you're looking for is advertised, you will automatically, immediately be contacted that these jobs that you are interested in, one of them has been advertised, so you can go ahead and apply. I would like to find out about opportunities to network for the UN recruitment. That I spoke about earlier. Internships, UN volunteers, consultancy, and temporary assignments. These are all a great way to quickly come in. Those are easier jobs to get. Come in and gain experience, build your PHP, your resume, so that you can apply for other jobs. It's a great way to also network and also get a feel for what the UN is, whether or not to see if this is a career within the UN is good for you. The next question is visa/immigration and employment benefit. The UN sponsors G4 visa. This is for the United States for eligible candidates and their dependents. So each one is reviewed on a case-by-case basis by the host country, but the UN again will sponsor you to get that visa. This is for international staff, or because the general service staff are recruited locally. In regards to entitlements, I gave a big overview on that. International staff have entitlements together with a salary, and so many different entitlements that I spoke about earlier. How long is the recruitment process? This varies, especially now with COVID. A lot has been delayed or put on hold. However, the process is continuing, but at a slower, much slower pace than we would expect. And so in the long run, the recruitments, the jobs are being advertised, and the recruitment process will go on in terms of you applying and the assessment, everything going on. But in terms of actually coming on board, there is actually like a delay. However, each department varies. And so eventually, and so this should not prevent you from applying. Go ahead and apply for any jobs that you see, because eventually, as the pandemic eases, candidates will be brought on board. And so that brings me to the end of the question and answers. So the advanced questions and answers. So we can now go ahead and ask for the live questions, correct? So I will stop sharing my screen right now. Thank you so much for your interest, and I hope I've been able to give you information that you need in your UN job application process.
Thank you very much, Joanne, for the briefing. Now I would like to take some questions from the participants. If you have a question to Joanne, please indicate in the chat box by typing your name. I will take questions from 5 participants together, and then invite Joanne to provide answers.
Okay.
In this way, we will do several rounds of questions and answers as time permits.
Okay.
So.
Okay. I missed the first question. I'm sorry. Oh, you're taking it for me, right?
Yes, I will take questions from 5 participants together, and I will give you.
Okay, perfect. Okay, thank you.
Okay. We already have some questions from some participants. So, so far we have 3 or 5. So we'll start with Jinso Kim and S. Nam, Mina Kim, and Joshua Lim, and Doyle Kim. So Jinso Kim, he or she already typed his or her question in the chat box. Maybe Joanne, you can see that as well. What does the mobility between internationally recruited positions and locally recruited positions look like? That's the first question from Jinso Kim. And the next one, also typed in the chat box from S. Nam. Could you please share the approximate yearly competition rate of YPP getting recruited? Next one is from Mina Kim. Thank you so much. And would your previous YPP exam result influence your future application? So we have those three questions, and now I also have a question from Joshua Lim. Are there medical internships available as well? And next one from Doyle Kim. I will give the floor to Doyle Kim so that he or she can ask question. Doyle Kim, you have the floor. Please unmute your microphone and speak, please.
Hi, this is Jinsol Kim. Could you repeat what you just said?
Yes, Doyle Kim, please speak. Unmute your microphone and ask your question. Thank you.
Hello. Am I to be heard? Can you guys hear me?
Yes, you may ask question, and we'll have Joanne answer all those five questions altogether.
Oh, okay. Thank you. Hello, and thank you for the presentation, first of all. I am currently a second-year university student, taking part in the international relations area, and I aim to apply for the YPP after receiving the bachelor's degree in the coming years. What are some of the activities that I can partake before graduation that can count towards a caliber of sort for the application? Thank you.
Okay, for that, it would have to be just focus on the different projects that you're working on. I'm assuming with your college degree, in preparing for your degree, there's so many projects that you work on in terms of written reports. Those are very, very important because the second part of the UN, the YPP exam, we look at, you have to be very good at writing. You have to be very good at analyzing, which I'm sure you already are if you're a college student. So these are areas that you really need to enhance in terms of being very good at reading something, analyzing it, and writing very good reports, which is relevant in your substantive area of expertise, your subject area that you've applied. Also, make sure you follow the UN in terms of, remember I spoke about all these sustainable development goals. So in the areas that relate to your field, make sure you're following the UN on Twitter, on Facebook, on different, on our careers website to make sure that you're seeing everything, that all the buzzwords that the UN is engaged in. Make sure you're up to date with that because the questions typically tends to, dance around what is hot topic, so to speak, in those times. So learn everything, but pay particular attention also to the what the UN is engaging in that year. That helps a lot. Hope that answers your question.
Well, I mean, yes, thank you. Thank you for the kind response.
Joanne, can you also respond to the questions typed in the chat box?
Okay. Let me see. Okay. What does the mobility between internationally recruited positions and local recruited positions look like? Local recruitment is local, so you're not really able to go anywhere other than if you apply for another local position, you would have to resign, take a break in service for a month, and then go to that local recruitment and work there. So it's and then for the most part, the recruitment is done locally, not internationally. So you have to be in that country in order to apply. So there's no back and forth. It's the only mobility you have is the international staff who have the flexibility or are required to work in different countries that the UN is engaged. And then the next one is, let's see. So the locally recruited positions are general service typically, right? And also, you also have the national offices. Those are also locally recruited. So those don't have the international benefits, right? So if you want like a broader career in terms of being part of the global UN staff force, you want to be part of the international recruiter, which is the P level. But if you're somebody who is not able to travel, and let's say you're in your country and there's a national officer position, that's a professional level, which you qualify for with a college degree, but it's locally recruited. The other one would be the general service level. So I think I'm clear on that. Okay, so the next one is, can you please share the approximate yearly competition rate for the YPP getting recruited? Every year is different. So I cannot, being that I'm not part of the actual YPP team, I cannot give you the exact numbers because I don't have it, but it's something that I can ask and share with you, but I don't have that with me. But each year the competition is pretty stiff, because you have all these young people competing for jobs. But it's usually not a broad number of jobs, but it's quite a good number of jobs depending on the duty station. But overall, being that you're placed on a roster for 3 years, eventually, if you do pass, you will get selected. So in terms of, it's not a matter of you passed or it's not a matter of, okay, we selected this amount of people and that's it. As long as you pass what is required in terms of the different parts of the exam and also passing the interview, you will be placed on the roster. And within the 3 years, you will eventually, hopefully, get assigned to something. Even though we say it's not guaranteed, but it's a very good chance that once you pass and you're placed on a roster, you will eventually get selected. The only catch is that sometimes people don't like the duty station they're being selected to go to, but that's a personal decision. And my name is Mina. It's a great honor to be in the seminar. What would your previous YPP exam result influence your previous application? The answer is no. Each exam is given separately. And so if you didn't do well, actually, those who don't do well in the previous exam, when they come back with a punch. They usually do better. So that should actually motivate you. Don't let that discourage you at all, because now you're actually familiar with what to expect. So go back steady and come back and hit it harder and you'll make it. So good luck. And that's it, right? Is there any do's and don'ts in writing application? I think that's what I went over. Make sure that you're reading the job application clearly. Pay particular attention to the requirements, especially the area of education, languages, and experience. And whatever is required, make sure, please, that you're capturing it in your application. And then when you go to the details of the application, make sure you're highlighting all your achievements. Make sure you shine. Make sure you're standing out. Add numbers, add figures, add, any projects or anything you worked on. In a paragraph here and there, make sure you showcase what you've done, all the achievements you've done in your past work experience, especially if they relate to the requirements of the job opening. This is a way that you can stand out to the hiring manager and be shortlisted to come in for an interview. And the next one is, do I have to be on site where the application notified? If I'm in New York but apply for the job in Bangladesh, I'm not sure when I can relocate there. This is something that you would have to discuss with the hiring manager, because depending on the needs of the office, sometimes they're willing to wait. If let's say a month, 2 months, 3 months, and they're not already in a hurry to bring somebody on board, or you're coming to work for a specific time when a certain project is started, depending on how well they like you, they're willing to negotiate with you to see when you can start. Of course, at some point you have to start. So it's a matter of going for the interview and then at the end asking those questions. Hello, is it possible to apply more than YPP examination field? No, if you do that, you will be disqualified. So please apply look at because some of you I know have 3 degrees in 3 different areas, but select the one that you know you're going to be very good at and apply for the exam in that field. I saw some consultancy postings. Deadlines is really close to starting date. Does that mean they have internal candidate already? I wouldn't know because I wouldn't be in that specific office, but as long as it's open, go ahead and apply because the assessment process does not begin typically until the job opening closes. Then they look at what they received and then assess the candidates. And then sometimes you may not even be the one they selected, but they saw your resume and they really like you. So they can put you on their list for the next project that's coming up. Or they might have an additional job that they have and you can come on board. So it's always good. Sometimes you may not even get a job, but it's good to be seen. That's my thing. Yeah. And then we also have experience as administrator, but it has no relation to the YPP field. Would you recommend me to put on the work experience? So if you're applying for the job as a YPP in administration, I'm not sure what exam field. This question is not clear. So let's say, for example, you're applying for a job. Yeah, you can put any experience you have, okay, if it's related, because at that stage, you're just looking to bring you in for the exam. So put in any experience that's related to the field you're applying for, and then any additional experience you can also list it there. It doesn't hurt to include all that you can, right? Because at some point, if they get too many applications for one country, they have to reduce it a little bit. And they have to see who would be the best candidates if they do pass in terms of what experience they have. So all the experience you have that it can help you shine, I recommend you put there. Thank you for your presentation. I'm also curious as to how and whether internship count as years experience. Okay, we get this question a lot, and it's good that you asked because I think I missed it when I was explaining. So thank you. For internships, when you apply for a job, let's say it says 5 years of experience is required, and you've had 2 years of experience as an intern, put that there. But when us as a recruiter, we go to do the assessment, your 2 years of internship will be reduced into half. So internships are counted as half the time. So keep that in mind. Remember when I said if you don't put the full amount of years that's required, you can get automatically screened out. Keep that in mind when you list internships, that your internships will be counted as half, right? And so if you have any other experiences, include that to make sure you don't get automatically rejected before the hiring manager gets to see your beautiful application. Okay, so I think that's it.
Okay, thank you, Joanne. We have about 8 more minutes. So I think we are doing in a very efficient way. So I would like to ask any participant to type their questions in the chat box or indicate by putting your name in the chat box. I have one participant who asked for the floor. His or her name is EY Cole. So please, EY Cole, unmute your microphone and speak and ask your question, please.
Hello. Thank you for the floor. Thank you for the presentation. And I would like to ask about the next YPP exam areas. How in advance can we know about next YPP exam areas, and will Korea will be on the list in 2021? Thank you.
As long as Korea is an underrepresented country, unrepresented, I believe, Republic of Korea, then you will be on the list. All the countries that are and underrepresented or at risk of being represented will be included in the exam, right? I don't think I got the first part of your question. Did I capture everything? Can you repeat the first part of your question? I'm sorry.
I'm wondering how in advance can we know about the YPP exam area, because every year is different. So I'm wondering.
Okay, for this year, it's already been advertised. I mentioned about it already in my PowerPoint. Administration and management, I think global communication, political affairs, and human rights. So it's already been advertised. And to get more information, right now, go on our careers.un.org and search, you know how I showed you, search for P2 jobs in any of those fields, or just search for P2 jobs in general, and you will see that all the YPP jobs will come up. So you click on those and apply, and this actually is your application to the YPP exam. That's how it works, right? I'm going to repeat. To apply for the YPP exam for this year, the exam areas have already been advertised. It came out today. So go on the careers website, create your profile the way I showed you, search for jobs in the P2 level and apply. You will see that it would say Young Professionals Program, apply in the field that you want to take and you have a degree in. Next.
I'm actually was gonna ask about next year, not for 2020.
Oh, 2021, that I don't know because we have to finish the 2020 first. So typically it comes out during the summer. So around this time next year, you should get information for the 2021. Yes, hopefully nothing delays it, but we target around summer. June is typically. To this year, we've been delayed.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, Joanne, I think there is one more question in the chat box. I think this is going to be the last question due to time limit. And could you respond to the question?
Okay, I remember there's a tick box asking, do you have working experience in the UN? Does online volunteer experience be regarded as working experience like an intern or other regular positions? Yeah, so internships, volunteers, being that these are not really regular jobs, we count them as half. So when you select them, you put them in your application as your work experience. Keep that in mind that the amount of time you have that you put is going to be counted as half. So in order to avoid not being automatically rejected, if you have any other experiences that you can include to make it to reach the minimum required years that is needed of experience for that job, make sure you put that there. But yes, it is regarded as experience, definitely. It's just counted as half.
Okay, thank you. Jinso Kim asked the floor one more time. So Jinso Kim, you have floor. I think you are going to be the last person to ask question. You have floor, please.
Thank you. Thank you for your presentation, Ms. Ampa. I think we all
You're welcome.
prepared. This might be related to a previously asked question, but my degree is quite specific. I'm studying education policy, and I feel that it's quite related to, and I'm very interested in the political affairs and human rights YPP exam. You did mention that my degree must be relevant to the exam, and I was wondering how broad or specific that relevance can be.
Okay, I would say it gets to a point where it becomes they have to review it on a case by case because there's some degrees sometimes there can be gray areas. So my best advice would be being that the application process, as I mentioned, is free. Apply. If you think you're related enough, apply, and they will review it and let you know. I think it's the best bet. So don't dismiss yourself and say, oh, perhaps I don't meet that field. Okay. I mean, for example, if it's really not related, like, okay, the job is in political affairs, but you have a degree in IT, then of course, it's not related. But if you feel like there's some relation, go ahead and by all means apply. And of course, you'll be notified in writing as to whether or not you will be selected.
I see. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, thank you very much for your active participation, and also I thank Joanne for your briefing and responses. It is already time to conclude our session. So if you have further questions, please feel free to ask to Joanne's team. We'll put some email address on the screen. It's Joanne team's email address. I also put the reference for more information, careers.un.org, and also unrecruit.mopa.go.kr. It's a website run by the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, and there are also many useful information, so please check that as well. Okay, so thank you very much again, and this concludes our session. Thank you.
Thank you so much, everyone, for your interest in UN careers, and I wish you good luck in the YPP exam and in all your job search. Thank you so much, Gunjan, for having me. It was a pleasure.
Thank you very much.